What's going on, everybody? Chase with iDub Hockey here today with Lee Elias from Hockey Wraparound. Lee, we've got the very exciting wraparound in front of us. We've got so many really cool things to touch on and what really makes this the ultimate off-ice training tool in the game today. But before we start doing that, can you explain to me what a wraparound is and maybe what was the inspiration for your design here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the wraparound is the original blade protector that we wanted to put on ice hockey sticks because ice hockey sticks are very expensive nowadays, to protect the blade so that you can go play outside on any rough surface. So you can kind of practice with the stick that you're using. The idea for it, it's a long story, but I'll make it really short for you. And it starts almost 30 years ago. When I was playing hockey back in the 90s, training aids didn't exist, right? I mean, you had your kind of outdoor hockey sticks and some balls, but I remember I wanted to play with the stick I was using on the ice. I had always seen, basketball players, football players, baseball players, they could at least carry their ball around with them all the time. Well, I wanted to carry my stick around. So one of the first things I did was I cut off a piece of the shaft of the stick I was using. I used to put that in my backpack, and I would secretly put my hand in there and kind of stick handle in my backpack throughout the day, which, yeah, I'm a little weird like that. But at the end of the day, I really wanted to take some shots and stick handle outside. So my dad and I went over to the thrift store or the hardware store, and we got a piece of sheet metal and a can of WD-40, and we sprayed it down, and it kind of simulated ice. And we had a bunch of pucks, and I would shoot pucks or stick handle pucks off that sheet metal over and over again. I remember 1,000 shots a day, every single day. I was really dedicated to that. Now you fast forward years later, I was living in England, and this idea came up of what if we wrapped that steel around the blade instead of having to have it as a shooting pad, which existed at that time already. And thus the first version of what would become Hockey Wraparound was born. So we made prototypes. We made that first one, which was made out of steel. And it was very cumbersome and it was heavy. And, we got it on the stick and we put it out in the market, and people tried it and they fell in love with it. And even though it wasn't that great, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that the first version of the Hockey Wraparound had a somewhat large break rate, but we also believed heavily in customer service at that time, and we replaced every single one. We asked for feedback. And again, this is kind of part to answer your question. We knew we wanted to enable the audience immediately to be part of this and growing it. So with every bit of feedback, we got better and better and better. And then kind of the culmination of the story is in 2015, I met my business partner, Matt Eastman, who's a brilliant engineer. And that's when we created the first prototype of the wraparound as it exists today in a plastic form, which has become our flagship product that ships all over the world. But it all started, in my opinion, 30 years ago on a piece of sheet metal in my driveway, shooting pucks into my garage, where my parents had to listen to that bang, bang, bang against the wall all the time.
It's such a cool way to think about it too. Instead of shooting off the shooting pad, you're wrapping your blade in the shooting pad essentially, which is just such a unique way of kind of looking at it. And like you mentioned, that first one was steel. It was heavy. As you mentioned, there's, some breakage issues. You guys have came a long way to this full plastic design. You look at it and there's just so many little details that you can tell from over a decade of experience that you've made little adjustments here. So let's hop into the materials and the durability here, and specifically the weight, because that is such a big change from this compared to the original as well as the weighted.
You could say that. Yeah. What's interesting is we knew we wanted to get lighter, and we knew, because I've played hockey and obviously the people I work with did too, that we had to get this light to a point that it's going to be acceptable, right? Like, we wanted to make sure the hockey players understood that we knew this needed to be the way it was. So what a lot of people don't realize about the plastic one, again, I'm holding that version up right now if you're watching this, is this is actually version 7 of the wraparound. And we've been around for just under 10 years. So the original plastic version did really well, really, really well, right? This is actually pre-pandemic. But as we said, we realized that it was light enough, and it was durable enough, but little things like our toes were breaking a bit more than we wanted to. And we realized there was minor slippage with the puck when people were using it. So we created that cross hatch that you see now on the toes of the wraparound to help you grip the puck. And they're designed specifically to do that. And that's assuming you're not taping up your entire stick already. We fixed the toe area so that it won't break. So the biggest change in shooting since we started this to now is it used to be heel to toe, shoot the puck, point the stick. Now it is toe drag release.
Yep.
So we knew we had to fortify that toe. We added in a wear indicator. So when you look at the wraparound, you can see that there's a line towards the bottom of the toes that shows you, okay, if you're approaching wear to this line, because the wraparound does wear down over time, that it's time to get a new one. Some of the other things we did, and I can't get into the specifics of this, is our plastic mixture. So one of the things we always hear, Chase, is, oh, it's just a piece of plastic. And look, for the consumer standpoint, I can understand that. But we spent an entire year looking at formulas and plastics and different things that we can put into this, because we knew it had to be A, hard wearing, which it is. It'll last a long time. B, it had to be flexible. It had to fit left sticks, right sticks, different curves, different patterns. And then we knew that it had to kind of morph into that shape, right? Because if you leave a wraparound on your stick, it's going to turn into that curve, right? And adhere to your stick. So those are some of the highlights of the wraparound itself. And then obviously it also cuts down to size. We fit junior, intermediate, and senior sticks, right? So we thought of everything over the last 8 years, at the time we're recording this, to make sure that this was going to fit snug. Other things too, like the teeth slightly taller than a puck, because we knew if it was going to overlap with the puck, it's going to affect your shot. The weight itself is about 2 rolls of tape, like if you taped your stick twice. But most people tell us that you notice it for about 5 to 6 seconds and you're fine, right? So we're really proud of what we've created. And I can't tell you the count on how many sticks we've probably saved, but it's going to account up to a lot of sticks and a lot of money.
And so for those players that maybe haven't tried a wraparound before, like you mentioned a second ago, you maybe notice it for a couple seconds. What is, their overall performance like coming from, using that stick that you'd broken in the past, you'd put a blade in that isn't your game stick, to actually using your game stick off the ice with a wraparound? What type of adjustment period? What are those players going to notice?
Yeah, well, look, we find right away the adjustment period, again, is 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, and you're fine. We've gotten pushback of, the wraparound makes your stick a little bit taller, but odds are if you're skating outside, you're off your skates. So you're either a little shorter, or if you're on rollerblades, a little taller. So it all evens itself out. The next kind of objection we get sometimes, which is kind of odd, is, well, we got to tape it up. And we always say, well, you got to tape your stick in a game too. So we're actually simulating a game thing here, but we've designed it, just going back to that, you mentioned this, we've designed it so the tape will not come off the sides of the wraparound, but it will wear off the bottom of the wraparound within 2 or 3 shots, right? So then it becomes a seamless, smooth experience for those users. Now, in terms of performance, I can share videos with you of some of the top players and top skill guys in the games doing everything that they do normally with a wraparound on their stick. So there is that kind of belief of, oh, it's going to affect my shot. All of the research that we've done shows that that's not the case. Although I understand the objection. So my attitude is always, hey, give one a try, or have a friend with one, give it a try. You will not notice it's there. And then as part of it, and this was a cool little engineering side of it, within our plastic, and again, I can't go into the recipe, but we've made it so that the plastic actually makes the surface you're on smoother. And that's one you really don't realize till you try it, right? So if you were dragging your composite stick across pavement, there's going to be some drag there. You're going to feel it and a lot of pain because you know what's happening to your stick right now. The wraparound formula actually makes that surface feel more like ice or feel smoother, which we think enhances it. So there's a lot of things that we thought about, but performance issues are not one of them. I should also mention, because I said this in the first question, breakage is not a problem for us anymore. Our break rate is insanely low. It's below 0.1% now, right? So we don't get these things back. But with that said, there's a 30-day guarantee on it. And we always tell people, if there's an issue or you didn't feel like this did what we said it was going to do, contact us, because we want to know. And you know that too on your end, right? Like, we're always there. Like, no, we want to know. We want to know what happened or how did it happen, so forth and so on. So yeah, from a performance standpoint, from a weight standpoint, 2 to 3 minutes max. You might notice it's there like any other training aid that you're using. And then you've made the earth you're playing atmosphere, right? The thing about the shooting pads, they're great, but it's just a small area. This allows you to play anywhere you want and make the whole earth your playing field.
And I'm sure there's going to be a couple questions out here about, some of those stick tricks. Like, if I was trying to do the Sveshnikov, could I maybe throw some wax onto the wraparound, or are there any tips for maybe those players looking out there for a little more of those tricky type plays?
Yeah, well, look, again, we have videos of people doing all of those plays. So whether it's a Michigan or something else, You can do it with the wraparound on. Look, taping a stick is a very personal part of the game, right? So it comes down to personal preference, and that's going to be my answer. However you want to utilize the wraparound on your stick to do what you need to do. Now, as a hockey coach, my suggestion is make sure you have some of these other skill sets down, which is the real purpose of the wraparound, prior to trying those. But if you want to do a Michigan and you tape your stick up the way to do that, it's not going to stop you from doing that, right? So we do recommend, if you're going to be shooting with it, to tape it like you normally tape it, just because it secures it to the blade and it keeps it nice and flush and flat. But we have yet to have a hockey, you said trick, but a hockey play or hockey move that has not been able to be replicated with it yet. Well, great question, though. It's fair.
Yeah, so let's talk about installation here. We already talked about compatibility. Fits on junior, intermediate, senior sticks, regardless of the curve, and you could switch between different curves. But I feel like installation, not that it can be daunting for someone who has never tried a wraparound, but I think you find out that it's surprisingly easy. So coming from the people that have developed this awesome product for the past 10 years, if this is the first time I've ever had a wraparound, I'm trying to put it on my blade for the first time, can you walk me through a couple quick steps that would make it just even easier than it already is?
Yeah, so what we tell people is always start from the toe and make sure you attach the toe teeth on first. And when I say attach, I mean literally putting your toe inside like a slipper into the wraparound. The next part, and I think this is actually where people maybe miss it a little bit, is aligning the heel of the wraparound with the heel of your stick. We've designed it so it'll kind of seamlessly go up into the shaft of the stick. And sometimes people have that a little too low or a little too high. So once the toe is on, you want to reposition the heel to the heel of the stick, and then you're good, right? Now you've attached it, you've got the teeth on, you've slipped it in, tape your stick up. We do recommend you can start playing with it right away. It's not gonna hurt in any way, but the longer the wraparound's on the stick, the more it's gonna conform to that curve. Within 10 minutes is what I'm talking. This isn't gonna take days or weeks or anything like that.
Right.
But once it's on, it will start to conform to your curve. It will actually memorize that shape for a while, even if you take it off. Right, which is another cool thing that people don't know, right? It'll stay in your curve shape for a long time, which is the way we designed it. But yeah, the first time you put it on, do it with care, right? Make sure it's aligned correctly, make sure it's on, make sure all the teeth are flush to the blade. And as you said, Chase, it doesn't take that long to do. You just got to get it on. And then every time you put it on after that, it gets easier and easier and easier to do. And again, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. That's all it should take. And it's probably less than that.
And then you kind of mentioned this earlier, but just to really drive it home, in terms of taping the wraparound to the blade, do you have, I know you mentioned it's personal preference, but maybe just from your perspective, would you go with kind of like how I did this one today, or do you like the full tape job, or what would you maybe recommend there?
Yeah, so a few things. At bare minimum, you need to secure the heel and the toe to the stick, right? So if you're just stick handling around, doing some light shooting, 2 or 3 strands of that at both ends is going to secure you. Now, if you're shooting a lot, this is just where centripetal force comes in. And that's going to happen with any kind of blade situation, right? You're shooting hard, you're shooting fast, things are going to move. That's when we recommend that you tape it securely to your stick. Now, you don't have to tape over the toe if that's not your preference. You might not even have to tape it all the way down, but from somewhere on the heel to the toe area, the more you tape that, the more secure it's going to be. And again, you play hockey with tape. So this is not something that's going to be new. And again, we've made the teeth really flush to the blade. They almost clasp it, if you will, right? So that is my suggestion. If you're going to be doing a lot of shooting, tape that wraparound onto your stick, or it might start to slip a little bit. Like, again, anything you're going to put on your blade, because that thing's going very fast when you're moving it. But there's a lot of different, we've seen a lot of different tape jobs over the years. We've even seen people put the wraparound over their tape, which, believe it or not, secures it pretty well.
Interesting.
Now, I can't officially recommend that you do that.
Yeah.
Right? But when you put it over your existing tape job, you really just need one strand and it stays in place because the blade's now a little thicker. But it's to each their own. Again, my recommendation, bare minimum, you need to put a couple strands on there. If you're shooting, you should tape it like normal.
Okay. And then speaking on shooting and maybe gameplay, we talk about this as an off-ice training device. The biggest improvements we've seen in wraparound the past couple of years since those first generations is that you could really take a lot of shots with this. So 2-part question, what type of shots can I take if I am training off ice? And what about if I want to go to my local rink, maybe play some pickup? How would you advise on actual gameplay?
Great questions. What's your favorite shot?
I'd say probably a snapshot.
you can take those. And if it's a slap shot, you can take those. And if it's a wrist shot, you can take those. This thing is built to withstand any type of shot that you want to work on. Again, Coach Me's coming out here. It's great to do the shots you're really great at. But what's really good with the wraparound is you can work on what you're not great at. You know, you can get that outdoor puck, you can get a green biscuit, you can work on your backhand if that's something you've not been working on, right? And it's going to simulate the ice, right? The amount of shots you can take with this thing is going to make you a better hockey player, right? And again, shooting boards are great too, but they take away the ability for you to move. There's a difference between, you love a snapshot. There's a difference between, you know, skating or running up to the net to take a snapshot than just having it on a shooting board where your positioning may be out, your balance may be out, no one's coming after you, that might be out, right? So any shot you want to take, and as you alluded to, we've done 1,000 shot plus challenges with the wraparound. We have several of our ambassadors doing a 365 challenge right now, where several of them are over 200 days already with very little wear on the wraparound, right? And they're working it, right? So I will say this, again, depending on where you are in the world, if you're in a very, very hot area, you know, that's going to affect the wearability than if you're in a very cold area, but it will last and you can do any shot you want. In a game scenario, now I will say this, the wraparound is a tool for practicing, right? But we've had a lot of inline players and ball hockey players use them in games. It should not affect your performance in any way. If you want to use a very high-end stick, instead of maybe a street stick, an ABS blade, this is a great alternative for you to be able to do that.
Yeah, my local outdoor rink here, I'm in California, so my outdoor rink is never filled with ice or anything. It's just a smooth concrete, and it is really surprising to see how many players just trying to take their composite sticks outside and they're destroyed in a game or two. So, you know, as that happens, you tend to see either the ABS blades come out or you see a lot of these wraparounds making their way onto their game sticks just because, you know, that's what it's built for. It's built to protect your composite game stick outside. I want to kind of wrap us up here. There's a couple more things that we didn't really get to talk about just as Wraparound as a company and who works for Wraparound and where these products come from. So as we lead into our conclusion here, can you give us a little backstory about who you are as a company?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love talking about it. Like, look, we're an American-owned and operated business. The Wraparound is made in America. It's something we're really proud about. But our team is 5 people, and Wraparound is our home, right? This is what provides us with means to feed our families, and you know, have our holiday parties and to kind of grow the game. And again, we started this in England because my business partner Matt and I, our wives served in the Air Force. So this is an American company as they can come, right? And we love, as a team, doing the initiatives. Like during the pandemic, we did the youth hockey initiative where we were giving wraparounds to hockey teams because they couldn't skate at a discounted rate. We have been known to give wraparounds away to underprivileged communities and people that want to have more accessibility to the game, not just in America, but around the world, right? We've written a children's book to help children deal with adversity. So when I say we're a little mini hockey community, I really mean it. And again, blade protection with the wraparound is something we've been studying and obsessed with for 7+ years. It's closer to 10 now. I don't know why I keep saying that. Right. So this is kind of our livelihood and it's our family. And I'm so proud of my team and the work that we get to do together on a day-to-day basis, not just with the wraparound, but the initiatives that we've created. I mean, we are saving people money in a game that's very, very expensive, while also making it more accessible for people that might not get to play it around the world. So we're a family-based business and a family-based attitude, and that's what we bring to the table every day.
Perfectly. Well, I can't think of a better conclusion than that. So just wanted to say thank you so much again today for sitting down with us, walking us through Wraparound and what that means for hockey players out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for all you do for the game.
Absolutely. And for you at home watching this and you want to check out all of the Hockey Wraparound products, make sure you head over to icewarehouse.com.